Let's get uncomfortable. One Piece is going to end. Real soon, actually. It is coming to the end of its entire tale. It is getting to the end of One Piece. We are going to witness the end of a 20-year-long journey, 20-plus-year-long journey of One Piece, one of the longest shonens to ever do it. Now, there are ridiculously long shonen. We got Kingdom, we got Hajime no Ippo, and we're never getting the end of Berserk because, God rest his soul, he is no longer with us. The author of Berserk is gone, and I'm not even sure if we're going to get the end of Vagabond. That man does not want to draw anything. We're lucky to get the end of Vinland Saga. We got the end of Vinland Saga, and I said to myself, okay, that's chill. Very happy about that. I guess that's the hard thing about stuff based off history too, when Vinland Saga, because you gotta have to pretty much correlate what happened in actual history, because with the story of Thorfinn Karlsefni, it's basically how it ended with him reaching the land of Vinland. It's a whole thing, but we're not going to talk about that. The moment when the longest journey in modern storytelling finally reaches its shore. One Piece is ending. I'm not talking about next month, by the way. It's not ending next month, but soon. Soon enough that people inside the fandom are probably going to start feeling the tremors of what it is. The slow creeping recognition that every story, even one that has spanned decades and sold over 500 million copies worldwide, eventually you're going to get to that last page and it's going to happen. It will happen. One Piece is not some gimmick manga. By the way, it isn't some seasonal trend that ebbs and flows with Netflix deals and TikTok clout and comes and goes. No, it is the best selling manga in history. Period. That is what One Piece is. And even if you didn't start it, even if you don't care about the story, that is perfectly fine. You don't even have to get into it. I'm not even trying to convince you to do it, but I am talking about the end shape of it. It has shaped the economic landscape of an entire industry when it first set sail. That's what happened. It did it. Theme park events draw hundreds of thousands of fans annually. Films such as One Piece Red have grossed tens of billions of yen in Japan alone. The franchise feeds a global ecosystem of merchandise, tourism, licensing, cultural influence that extends far beyond the pages of Weekly Shonen Jump. It's an institution. Institutions do not end quietly. For instance, let's talk about Totally Not Mark. Totally Not Mark is an astounding Dragon Ball Z content creator. As a matter of fact, you can look no further than typing in Dragon Ball Z anywhere, and you will see that Dragon Ball Z, despite being over for quite some time, has still a very monumentous fan base. You can look at Salad Saiyan. Salad Saiyan is somebody who makes what-if scenarios about Dragon Ball Z. Sensible Saiyan, who actively breaks down the fights frame by frame and talks about them. Very good if you're looking for Dragon Ball content. These two, I think, are some of the top, best of the best when it comes to just in general Dragon Ball content. We can even look at Codename Super. Codename Super, who does basically hood recaps of the entirety of Dragon Ball. It is beautiful. We also have Zephyr as well and other people of that variety. But with Totally Not Mark, I'm pretty sure he is witnessing a lapse in his content because, well, guess what? There's not a lot of Dragon Ball stuff coming out, and he's known as Dragon Ball guy. He did try to branch out and do Gravity Falls, and the Gravity Falls video, which reached 3 million views, did inevitably do amazing for his channel. Now, I'm not sure if he's having copyright issues with that. It's a whole thing there. I'm sure it's actually draining because he has to do with copyright a lot of the time, and a lot of people aren't more so there for Mark, they're there for what Mark creates, and that's a big thing because with a lot of One Piece content creators, they're there for One Piece, not primarily what the content creator is. They are there for what One Piece is, and there are very few exceptions to this rule. There are people such as JD Legend who actually make the agenda piece and can branch out to other series. There are people such as Tekking 101 who has talked about basically everything One Piece and could potentially branch out to another series with such immense world building and do phenomenal on those. But then there are people such as Grand Line Review whose ecosystem is primarily built on the confines of One Piece, and that's going to be insane to do, as well as Ohara. Their video production is amazing and they have done a great work, but a lot of the time they are there for One Piece. I'm not sure they're going to be able to keep up that same video production with a new series, especially now they have to branch out. I'd recommend they start now because One Piece is going to be ending very, very soon. Because they're not just talking about an anime or manga, they have built an entire institution navigating a universe that literally never stops expanding. Every week brings a new chapter. Every chapter brings new theories. Every theory brings new engagement, new videos, new revenue, new oxygen. These channels analyze everything about One Piece. They breathe it in. And when that constant drip of content stops, it's going to be a big economic loss for a lot of people. It's going to be disgusting. That fear of the empty calendar, the week where there is no new chapter to break down, no new mystery to unravel, no new bone for commentary to chew on. And that's a real fear. It's a real big fear. And I fear that for a lot of the One Piece space. And it is horrifying in a way that few other endings have never been. Because this is the age of content creation, right? Naruto is enormous. I think Naruto is phenomenal, but when Naruto ended, there was a lot to talk about. And I think that people can still talk about Naruto and relive it. I think that's going to be, for One Piece, a lot of people. They're going to relive moments and talk about that for quite some time, but that's going to bog you down. Even the biggest Naruto content creators cannot live on that forever. Same with Dragon Ball Z. That's what I'm talking about. Same with Bleach. It doesn't matter how big the series is, how amazing the epoch is. One Piece eventually is going to run dry. They're going to get run dry of One Piece. It's going to reach its eventual end. A lot of you guys weren't there when Dragon Ball peaked, when it ended. Fans speculated for years about what could possibly replace it. The franchise left behind a legacy. Spin-offs emerged. New iterations appeared. But the immediate cultural vacuum was so palpable. Dragon Ball could fall back on endless tournament arcs, new villains, filler ladders, because the structure of Dragon Ball is inherently episodic. It could stretch itself infinitely and indefinitely because it was never built around a singular finite journey. It was always about who's next rather than what's the destination. One Piece is structurally the opposite. It has an endgame, a destination, a narrative. It happens. It is about progress towards the final treasure and the journey to get there. There is no villain of the week mechanism, no filler worlds that magically stretch screen time, unless you're talking about the anime, which actively stretches screen time, stretches more than Monkey D. Luffy. No infinite tournament loops. One Piece ends. It kind of just ends. It just ends. You can talk about the past, about what happened, and re-dissect arcs and figure out how we got there and how amazing it was for everything to get to the final One Piece. And I'm pretty sure people are going to do that. But when it ends, it is over. It's just going to be over. I guess you could do fan fictions and fan theories about what potentially could have been and stuff of that variety. And that could be a long series for a lot of people that are really good at writing fan fictions. That could be cool. But when it ends, it is going to end, dude. My fear is the spin-offs that may actually retcon a lot of stuff. The Shanks years, Zoro, the 1,000 Cuts, and how he was a bounty hunter. Prequels about Vivi and Alabasta. Frankie's time with Tom. Chopper, for some reason. I'm not sure what Anthony Helicopter is doing, but he could pop up. Fans will consume that content because it's more One Piece. But most people don't fervently enjoy regression. They enjoy progression. Dragon Ball Daima didn't do outstanding. It was a story about the past. It's not about them getting stronger. They watch One Piece week after week because Luffy keeps moving forward, because the Straw Hats keep getting closer to the final horizon. People love the journey as much as the destination, but they are here for the movement. A spin-off about one island that ends where we already know the story goes, that's gonna suck. It's filler. And some fans may enjoy it because they're getting more One Piece, but the average fan isn't going to. You can't sustain yourself out that forever. The fandom thrives on advancement, and advancement is not something you can regurgitate forever without big diminishing returns. Look at Dragon Ball Daima. That was crazy diminishing returns. Crazy. One Piece basically is Shonen Jump for a lot of people. A lot of people actually get into One Piece simply because it is One Piece. We're getting the shonen because of One Piece more so. The economic weight of this ending is harder to calculate but impossible to ignore. One Piece is a pillar of the manga and anime industry. It is a hard economic engine. Publishing houses have built schedules around it. Anime studios have allocated resources based on its continued existence. Merchandise manufacturers have designed production lines that assume perpetual demand. International licensing deals have been negotiated with the understanding that One Piece is a constant, a fixed point in a shifting market. And when that engine stops, what are we going to do? What are we going to do, guys? What's going to happen here? Are we finally going to get a good One Piece game? Probably not. I don't think so. Are we finally gonna get something worthy of the One Piece name? I don't. We're not gonna get any of that. But I do think they're gonna try to milk this for eons to come. The One Piece content creator space is wildly oversaturated. What do the creators and the commentators and analysts do? You gotta pivot. You gotta find the next thing. After Dragon Ball ended, hundreds of creators went hunting for the next worldwide hit. But the real stress is that there is no guarantee that there's gonna be another One Piece. There's no guarantee. Maybe Kagurabachi, maybe Jujutsu Kaisen. There's no guarantee there's gonna be another One Piece, because One Piece is a very one-of-a-kind story. It will be a reset of how fans, creators, critics, and commentators structure their creativity and careers. And that's where the fear becomes really, really, really tangible. Because there are people who have built audiences on world government breakdowns, the meaning of the final roll poneglyph, Voyager theories. They can't just do the same thing with My Hero Academia or Jujutsu Kaisen. You're even witnessing this in the My Hero Academia space, because man, it is a drought over there. Those series leave their own arcs for people. They have their own mysteries, their own passionate followings, but they don't have the century-spanning pilgrimage. They don't have the slow, incremental push towards that one final treasure. And yes, I'm glazed in One Piece, and I don't care. I think the grief is going to be real when it happens. The economic disruption was going to be crazy. The scrambling for the next thing is going to be insane. It's going to suck. It's going to suck hard, because that is rare. One Piece is rare. This is precious. And when the sun finally sets on that dock, the satchel at the end will be lighter than it looks. Because what it carries is a livelihood of so many people. It's the accumulated weight of everyone who walked the road beside it. That is One Piece. On that same note, I really hope we get the end of One Piece. Oda is having crazy health complications. It is scaring me indefinitely. I hope he actively gets something done, because man, it's scary looking at Oda and how horrifying it is. It's just scary. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about the end of One Piece if you are a One Piece fan. If not, then just keep pushing. But if you are, welcome to my channel. I don't usually talk about One Piece, but it is one of my biggest hyperfixations. So have a lovely day or night wherever you're at, and I'm out. Peace. Bye.
I'm your nigga night, be my loyal. Happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. I love the ride when you're free.